Hi everyone. Hey, it's Deb Naylor from the Flying Stamper, and it is May 2021, and I am here today to go over the 2021 to 2023 in color virtual class with you. So first off, I'd like to thank everyone that was able to attend. I know I will get to see some of you at the porch pickup, and others I will be mailing your kit out, and then others will actually probably not see me and just pick up off the porch. We have a variety of things going on this month, but I appreciate you sticking with me. It means a lot. So let's talk about a few things before we get started on the projects. First off, I'm going to give you a little list of things that you might want to gather if you want to work along with the video. I'm sure you'll have to pause it to complete your projects, but you will need a pair of scissors, dimensionals, and I've got regular and mini. So if you just have regular, that's okay. You can cut them down as you need. You will need some kind of an adhesive. I like liquid glue, and either glue dots or Scotch tape. You will need the 5 in color pads that will come in your kit, and you will need a black stamp pad, so whatever you have in your inventory for black. I know many of you have the Tuxedo Black Memento. If you have the Dragonfly Garden stamp set, I know many of you do have it because it was one of our virtual classes earlier in the year, grab that. And if you have the Jar of Flowers stamp set, grab that. And I know a lot of you have that as well. And then maybe just a sentiment set. That would be helpful. And if you don't have these stamp sets, please don't worry. I'm going to give you some alternate ideas so that you can get your projects completed. So before we get started, I want to talk to you about stamp pads in general. So your kit is going to come with all 5 of the new in colors. And I'm going to remove this now so that I can actually show you a few things about stamp pads. I like to take this time each year and just go over some stamp pad basics. So I've already opened up all those pads and prepared them. But I do have one brand new pad, and I just wanted to show you a few little tips. So it's going to come to you sealed in plastic, and you'll just want to take your scissors or whatever and pull that plastic off. And then that just goes in the trash. Now, on the back, there's all these labels. So there are 4 different languages, and then there's one plain one. So we're going to start with the Calypso Coral one and grab that off. I always put that on the end of the pad. I had to replace my Calypso Coral pad. Something happened to it. So that's why I have this brand new pad. And my fingernails are super short right now, so that's not helping. All right, so I like to put this right on the end so that when I have it in my storage, it's very easy to find the color. All right, and then I take one of the other languages, the one that makes the most sense to me. I am not bilingual, and this one is the one I'm going to grab. And I put it on the opposite end. And then I take the plain one and I put that inside the pad. And then I just leave these here. You can use them for something else if you would like. All right, so we're going to open the pad. Now these open up like a compact, and they're going to be a little snug and tight when you very first get them. So I'm going to put this right on the edge here. There's a little indentation for where it can be placed. Oops, I didn't get that in there very well. All right, so we'll just set that in there. Okay, so the purpose of this is when you have a lot of stamp pads out, sometimes the colors are similar and it's hard to tell what you've got. So if you've got them open, this will just be a little visual so that you'll know that you've got the Calypso Coral pad open versus maybe a red pad or something else that's similar in color. All right, and then just to close it, so flip it open and then close it and wait till it locks. You'll hear it kind of snap in there and lock. They are a little juicy sometimes when they're new, and they are a little stiff, so you'll have to work them in a little bit. Sometimes you'll end up with a lot of ink on your fingers, so I suggest having a package of baby wipes nearby. Then you can wipe the ink off of your stamp case if you get any on there, and you can get it off of your fingers as well. Stamp pads like to live like us. They don't like to be too hot, so keep them in a cool room, you know, normal, however you're living in your home. Don't leave them in your car or sitting outside in the hot weather when it's warm out. They don't like to be too cold, so don't stick them in the freezer or have them in your car when it's really super cold. Keep them away from direct sunlight because that will affect the quality of the pad. And these are very inky pads, so you don't need to push down really hard on them. It's a really light tap to get your ink on. Sorry, I just wanted to turn my ringer off on my phone so we didn't have to hear that. So not a lot of pressure, and we'll kind of go through that as we get moving on a little bit. So now I'd like to talk to you about what is going to be in your kit when you get it. So it's going to look something like this. It's going to be in a nice cello bag. And you're going to find your stamp pads in there, and then all the projects, and then everyone's getting a little present. So you're going to get one of those cute little ombre bags. Those are in the new annual catalog. And then inside the cute little ombre bag, there is a quarter sheet of all 5 of the end colors. So you'll have a little bit of cardstock to play with to match your new pads. And you can also use this if you need to alter anything in your projects. So I'll talk to you about that in a few minutes here. So then there's 5 kits in here, 5 different cards, and 5 pads, and then you have a stamping placemat. So that is what your kit will look like when you get it. And let me just set this to the side, and we'll get started with the first card. Okay, so this is going to be our first card because, you know, Pale Papaya is my favorite this week. This is also a very, very easy card to complete. The only thing that you will need for this one is obviously your Pale Papaya pad, and you will need a sentiment, and it will be of the smaller type. If you are a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, the sentiments and Paper Pumpkin are fantastic, and they're probably a really good go-to for you. The stamp set that I used and the dies that I used are in the Blossoms and Bloom bundle. And these are in the new annual catalog, and they still come as a bundle. So let me just show you the dies. They're really nice. They're huge, as you can see. They cover the card. They really do all the work for you. So this, if you're going to attend the My Favorite Bundle class next month, might be a good choice. We'll talk about that a little bit more too as we go along. Okay, so that is what I used, but you will just use whatever sentiments you have. So let's talk about what's going to be in your kit. All of your kits, be really careful when you pull them out of their envelope, because more than likely there's going to be a little bling or some little tiny bits and pieces that you're going to need to look for. So there's that. And where is my bling? My bling is not in here, you guys. Okay. Do some double checking here. All right, there's bling in this one. I have an extra kit. So there we go. Okay. All right, and the bling is from these new Genial Gems. Very pretty gems. So you're going to get two, one of each color. And then you're either going to have a piece of the soft succulent or the pale papaya ribbon. I didn't have enough of either one for the whole class, and I was only able to order one spool when I had to do part of our kit ordering. So either one is going to look great, but that's why there is a difference. Okay, so you may have a few little pieces that you'll need to punch out with your scissors or a paper piercing tool. There may be just a couple left over after I die cut it for you. All right, so that goes in the center there. Now, before I lay this down, I'm actually going to do a little bit of stamping on it. And in this Blooms and Blossom, there's a little tiny stamp that I'm going to use right there. Now, if you don't have this stamp set, and I don't think too many of you do, there's something very similar in the Paper Pumpkin kit from April that you can use instead. And let me show you that. So if you got the Too Cool, there's this little stamp right here, and it works too. And if you don't have either one of those, you can do a couple of different things. You could just sponge in some color there for your centers. You could even leave it blank. Ooh, I missed a little die cut. It's your project, so don't freak out if you don't have exactly what you need. Just play around and be a little bit creative. All right, so we're just going to stamp some centers in there with the pale papaya. Put one in there too. I put one over there. Okay, did I get them all? Okay, oh, how about one more right here? All right, so you can see I'm just totally winging it and kind of going with the flow there on that. All right, so once you have that on there, then you can figure out your gluing. Now, I did use the liquid glue. You could use the liquid glue pen. Oops, that's a lot. I'm gonna have to pull that around. Kind of blobbed out on me. This is a brand new tube of glue, so I squeezed a little too hard. So the liquid glue pen would work, glue stick would probably work, glue dots will work really well if you have the patience to lay them all down. And you don't really need them on, you know, the whole thing, just a little bit here and there, enough to hold it down there. I'm mostly doing this because I've got too much glue here and I don't want it to go out the side and end up on the front of my card. Okay, all right, now I'll flip that over and mount that on the card base. Okay, all right, we'll set that to the side for a second. And we will stamp our sentiment. So if you don't have this one, the Blossoms and Blooms, look to your Paper Pumpkin stamps because there's lots of good sentiments in there. If you have the one called Teeny Tiny Words, that's another one that will fit. I'm going to make this a Thinking of You card. I happen to need one of those, and I'm really low on them right now. Okay, there we go. Put those away. Okay, so let's put a little more glue over here, and that goes there. Okay, and now we'll just attach those gems, and I'll show you how I did the ribbon. If you have the longer fingernails, the Take a Pick tool will work great. All right. Okay, so the ribbon is kind of just looped over. like this. And then you can either use a glue dot or a small piece of Scotch tape. Now I'm saying small piece of Scotch tape because this is going to go over that, so you don't want it to be very big if you're going to use Scotch tape, because you don't want it to show behind the label. Okay, and then I use two dimensionals on the back of this. And popped it up. Okay, so that is the first card and probably the easiest one in the batch because the die is actually doing the majority of the work for you. All right, there goes my favorite pale papaya. Okay, let's move on. And we will go to Evening Evergreen next. And here's the card that you're going to make with Evening Evergreen. So let's take a look at what's going to be inside the kit. And there's no bling in this one, so you don't have to be overly careful, but you do have two pieces of Very Vanilla. So one side is the inside liner because it's very dark cardstock and it's hard to see the writing and the sentiment on that dark of cardstock. So we lined it. So that's why you have two pieces. And then you have another oval. And I actually use the layering oval dies on this one in tandem with the double oval punch. So this came from here, and then this came from the layering ovals. Okay, so let's set these to the side for now. And I use the stamp set Flowers of Friendship. So this is another bundle that is in the new catalog. It's a punch bundle, and you know those are my favorites. So this might be a good choice for next month if you are going to attend the My Favorite bundle class. And I want to say it's $36.75, so it's pretty reasonable. Okay, so let's talk about what we've got going on here. So I did use this great big stamp from this stamp set. And this is a new stamp set, and I know most of you do not have it yet. So I am going to tell you, if you have the Dragonfly Garden, to sub that. That one works pretty good too, and I'll show you what it looks like here in just a couple minutes. And if you don't have that, look for a long skinny like this, or just fill it with a floral. There's lots of different ways to use this. You know, don't freak out if you don't have this exact stamp. Okay, so we're using Evening Evergreen. And this is a large stamp, so I'm going to take the stamp and lay it on its back and ink it up. And then when I'm doing stuff like this, I like to start in the middle. And then I go off and do my sides. And you want to vary your height, just like if you were looking out at a bouquet of flowers. They're not all going to be even, so we'll vary it a little bit on both sides. And that provides interest and makes it look more natural. Let's see, there we go. Okay, so there's that. And while I have this out, since I like this stamp a lot, I'll just grab a little edge there for the envelope. I always like to stamp my envelopes. I think it just pretties them up. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment right now too. Just get that done. And then I can close up my ink pad and we can do assembly, and I can talk about how I got that color in there. So I never have enough thank you cards, so I'm going to make this into a thank you. There we go. Okay, I might not be talking very well, but I'm stamping pretty good today, don't you think? All right, let's talk about assembly. And then let me show you this. Well, I'll show you this in a minute. All right, so let's talk about assembly. What do I do with my glue? Here we go. All right, so first thing we're going to do is glue that liner inside. When you're using the liquid glue, you never want to get too close to the edge, because when you do place it and you put a little bit of pressure on it, it does spread out. One thing I like about the liquid glue is you've got a little bit of moving time. And we'll glue this together. And that goes on there. All right, I'm going to show you how I got that color in. Okay, so many of you from our class, some of our classes this spring, used the blending brush already, but for those of you that are new, oops, that moved on me, and you haven't used this yet, and if you don't have this, use a sponge or a dauber, or a makeup sponge would work too. So you're going to open up your pad, and then you're going to tap this, and then take a little bit of ink off on your placemat or your scrap paper, and then just go in and just softly add color. And then you have to keep grabbing it. And the reason why we want to take off a little bit is because it goes on pretty strong otherwise. So you can't take it off once you've got it on there, but you can always add more. So we'll start with a full length and full strength, and then you just kind of tap some of it off. And you can go as dark or as light as you would like. It is your project. Or you don't even have to do this if you don't want to. And then the blending brushes, to clean them up, you just rinse them out on your sink. So I just go to my kitchen sink, I rinse it off. The color almost all comes off. And then I just let it in my dish strainer sitting up like this and let it dry overnight. Now we're going to use this again. If you purchase any of these, they come in a 3-pack, which is nice because that's about the most that you need. And they're $12, so it's very reasonable. But I'm cleaning it off because we're going to use it again in a minute. Okay, earlier I mentioned if you have the Dragonfly Garden set, you can use that long floral stem, and that's what that looks like. So that is a very good substitute, and it looks just as nice as this does. All right, so now what we're going to do is go ahead and assemble the ribbon. And then we'll add our sentiment, and then I'll show you one more little optional addition if you would like. Okay, so now this gets glued to the front of the card. That. And then we're going to use 2 dimensionals. And we'll stick those. Stick that right in the middle there. Okay, now the optional thing. So if you attended the Share the Love class in March, March was my birthday month, and you all got a birthday gift from me in your kit. And it was the Shimmery Crystal Effects. So if you attended that class, or if you have this product, I would encourage you to go in and just go right over where we sponged and add a little bit of texture with this. Do remember that this does take some drying time. So once you've got it on, let it sit for 15-30 minutes and dry really well. But that adds a little shimmer and shine to the project. I don't know if you can see that in the video or not. I really like it. And then it also adds some dimension. And if you don't have this product, you could use shimmer paint if you have that. You could use the Wink of Stella if you have that. All of those products will give you a similar type of look. I gotta set this to the side so I don't put my fingers in it. Okay, so that was Evening Evergreen. I'm going to leave that sitting out because we're going to use it again. Okay, we're going to move on to Polished Pink. And I've been trying the last several months to always include some kind of little different or fun type fold. So that's what we've got going here. The card stands like this. And then you can put your sentiment inside here. So let's talk about what you're going to find in this kit. There's a little bit of bling in here, so be careful when you open it up. These are the new silver and clear epoxy essentials. So you get a sheet of silver and then you get a sheet of clear, and this clear you can color in with a blend or a Sharpie. And then you get a variety of sizes. You've got some circles. This is actually a regular basic rhinestone. You've got some teardrops and you've got some kind of diamond shape. So we'll see those again. I have already pre-embossed your card base, and I use the new Pretty Flowers embossing folder. I just got this. It's lovely. It's really pretty, and it's got lots of texture in it. All right, now you're going to get a jar punch. And many of you attended the Jar of Flowers class last spring, so you have this stamp set. So I'll show you what to do if you have the stamp set, and then if you don't have the stamp set, I'll give you some alternate ideas. So this is where you'll need your black stamp pad. And we're going to go ahead and stamp it, ink up your jar, and then go ahead and just stamp over the top of the jar. Okay, and then I grabbed this image from that stamp set. So that's this. So we're going to ink this up. And I just realized I don't have my little mat. So let me grab that. With these Photo Palmer stamps, this piercing pad just really helps a lot to give it a little extra cushion. Let me grab that out of there. Oops, I gotta get another image. I think I might have needed to, excuse me, refill my black ink pad. This pad's pretty old. Okay, that's better. All right, let's see, put that away. Okay, I'm going to let that kind of dry for a second or two. And while that is happening, I'm going to glue this to the card base. Okay. Now, you got this little tiny piece of ribbon, and you're going to tie that around that. I want you to take a look at the back side, though. So if you don't have this jar stamp, you've got some different options. I just used a early espresso marker or a black marker and just go around and make a bunch of little dashes and dots, and then I just kind of freehanded in some little scribbles there. So that makes that turn out kind of similar. The other thing you could do is just take a black ink pad and sponge the edge all along the edge. And that would give it a little distinction. You could also run it through an embossing folder. So there's a lot of ways to make that work out. All right, so once you've done that, then you're going to tie this little piece of that polished pink ribbon. And I tried to give you a little extra. I don't like to make this hard for you. So you will need to trim it when you get through. And it's just a soft knot. It's not a bow. I know some of you guys don't like bows. And I like bows, but my fingers are not liking them lately. So I haven't been having as many bows. These scissors aren't very sharp. Let me get my ribbon scissors for that. Okay, so just trim off the edges so it's not quite so long. Okay, and then we will mount that to your card with a dimensional. I start out so tidy, and then I have a mess here within just 5 minutes. Do you guys do that too? Yeah, I'm sure you do. Okay, so we have this little tiny dragonfly. And I'm just bending his wings up a little bit. And then a little dimensional, one of the minis. If you don't have a mini, just cut one of the larger ones down a little bit. I'll put that somewhere over here. And then the Epoxy Essentials, I use the big circle one in the middle of the knot there. And then your little basic rhinestone goes on the end of the dragonfly. Okay, let's talk about what we're going to do with this thing. All right, so I've got my pad all clean, or my blending brush all cleaned up. And you're going to want to do this before you fussy cut it. And by the way, if you don't have this stamp set, there are a couple different ones that I saw in the paper pumpkin that would work really great. So just take a look at those or look at one of your floral stamps. I'm sure you can figure something out with your current inventory. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and tap this. And we're going to get it pretty dark, but then we're going to take a little off. And we're just going to tap some color in. Don't worry about staying inside the flowers because we're going to actually fussy cut this. So that's all going to go away. This just gives it a nice, soft, kind of a watercolory look. And you can darken it in certain areas if you want. So we can make the little centers a little bit darker there. Okay, and if you want to get really crazy, you can get your evening evergreen out and add some green. I want to show you guys something on this pad. Do you see how dark it is there? So I wasn't paying attention. I left the pad open while I was playing with the evening evergreen. I stamped something into the evening evergreen, and then I stamped it again in here. So now this has got evening evergreen on it. So that it was a hard lesson to learn. I'm probably going to have to replace this pad or do something to play with it. And I left it like this because I wanted to show you guys. So lesson to be learned, always close your stamp pads and always clean your stamps so that you don't transfer ink. Okay, fussy cutting. All right, so we're going to fussy cut this. And so you want some small scissors, sharp scissors. And then if you haven't had a lesson on fussy cutting before, turn the paper not the scissors, and then you don't get those cut marks. You see how I'm turning the paper? I'm not turning my scissors, I'm turning the paper. And I never could figure out for the longest time why my projects always look so ugly until someone told me that. Of course, back in the olden days when I started stamping, we didn't have die cutting, we didn't have punches. And so if you wanted anything, an image cut, you were forced to hand cut it. So I am so sorry, my phone is ringing again. And I am in the middle of fussy cutting, so I can't turn the ringer off. And my phone never rings, so I don't know why that keeps happening today, but I apologize. Okay, there we go. Okay, all right, now I use the dimensionals on the back of this. And that goes just like that. All right, isn't that pretty? That polished pink, at first I didn't like it. I thought it was a little too bright, but it's really growing on me, and this is just beautiful. And you know what? You could take that shimmering crystal effects and add that in there if you wanted to. That would be really pretty. Or you could use your Wink of Stella. Okay, that is the polished paint project. So we'll set that to the side. And we'll move on to soft succulent. So this is going to be our guy card. Father's Day is coming. And the sentiment that I've used here is from a past paper pumpkin. It's probably about 2 years old. It looked like this. If you got a good man, that has some nice sentiments in it. There's several good ones out that are male. And I actually combined soft succulent and Evergreen Evening together on this project. They look really good together. I was really impressed with that. So, and then I've got the Dragonfly Punch. And this is where you'll need the Dragonfly stamp set again if you have it. And if you don't worry, I've got some ideas for you. The paper that I used, the Designer Series paper, is actually from the new Pansy pack. So it looks like this on one side, and then it looks like this on the other side. I love this paper, and I was thrilled to see that this was in here and that I could use this and put a male flare on it. Okay, so you want to be careful when you open this one because there are a couple pieces of bling. So let's set that over there and pull everything out. There's the bling. So the bling is the new in color dots. That might not be exactly what they're called. I don't have the pack here to look at. And I gave you either soft succulent evening, evergreen evening, or pale papaya. All three of them went with this project. Okay, so we are going to take the DSP, and you know what? If you don't want to make a guy card, you can just turn this card and put the flowers here and go with a slightly different orientation, okay? So here's what the project I've designed, but if you don't need a man card, then just turn it around and make it into a girl card. I never have enough male cards, and I have taken to mailing out Father's Day and Mother's Day cards to not just my father, but my brothers, my sisters, my niece, my nephew, my son-in-laws, my stepsons, because right now I just feel like everybody needs a little bit of uplifting. So I need a lot of Father's Day cards. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, here's your soft succulent pad. So I'm going to stamp the Happy Father's Day in the middle of the circle. And by the way, I use the Layering Circles framelits for these two pieces here. So do I need this again? No. So we're going to put that away so we don't mess anything up. And then we'll set this to the side and let it dry a little bit. Okay, while that's doing that, we'll talk about what we're going to do to these. So I did use the Evening Evergreen cardstock and then ink on the Dragonfly. So you want to open that up, and then we'll just overstamp with the Dragonfly. And we're going to do that to both pieces. Even the little one, just try to center it up there in the middle because it makes it look like a dragonfly. And the worst part is getting it off. All right, so do you see that? I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me bring it up closer. Isn't that cool how that works? And I'm not real happy with how this came out. So I'm turning it over and punching it on the other side, or stamping it on the other side. Okay, much better. All right, so if you don't have this stamp set, please don't worry. Just take like a background stamp set and distress that a little bit. If you have anything with just lines in it, or even little dots, or just sponge the edges of the Dragonfly. It's very obvious it's a Dragonfly even without the stamp, so you don't actually need to worry if you don't have that. Okay, so the larger of the little in color dots goes on the larger Dragonfly, and then the smaller one goes on the smaller Dragonfly. Oh, you know, while we have this out, let's go ahead and grab a Dragonfly here on the corner. Oops, I'm so sorry. All right, so I don't mean to bonk my camera holder and make it seem like you're drunk or dizzy. That's not my intention. All right, so this gets mounted there, and then one large dimensional on the back of, or regular dimensional on the back of that, and then a mini on the back of the little Dragonfly. And I like to bend their wings up. Okay, there we go. So there's our Father's Day project. Now, if you would like to step that up a little bit, take the Shimmery Crystal Effects and put it on the wings. And if you don't have the Shimmery Crystal Effects, Winkostella would work. Glitter would work. Speaking of glitter, I haven't used glitter in a long time. I wonder why. It just occurred to me. So that just gives it a little shimmer and shine and adds a little more dimension to it. Texture. It's all about the texture these days. Okay, so let me put that to the side so I don't get my wet area. So remember that needs to set to the side and dry for 30 minutes before you put it in the envelope. All right, last but not least, we are going to play with fresh freezer. Oops. Sorry. I have too many piles going on here. And then I've used the pansy paper again. I love the pansy paper. So when you open up your kit, there's one piece of bling in here. So it's the pastel pearls. So just be careful, find that and set it to the side. And then you have, this is also from the new Pansy paper. Love it. And then the ribbon, and then this tag. I'm going to talk to you about the tag here in just a minute. So I actually cut these out so you may have a different color than what I have here. I just took it out of the pack, and you'll need to fussy cut that to finish that off, and we'll talk about the ribbon there in just a sec. And then this stamp set is called Elegantly Said, and then here's the coordinating punch. This is a new bundle, and this might be a really good choice too for next month if you're going to do my favorite bundle. I want to say it's $36.75. And at first I wasn't sure if I would really like this punch, but I have found that there's so many things that you can do with it that, yeah, I do like it. All right, so let's get some things going here. We're going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment on here. Let's see here. Let's see. Which one do I want to do now? I'll do another thank you because I just never have enough of those. This is another color that I really like. Initially, I thought it would be my favorite. And then Pale Papaya took first place. So I'll put that right up at the top. So grab whatever sentiment you have. That's the only thing that you're going to need for this card. And then you're going to fussy cut the pansy. Actually, let me glue this down so it can be drying while we're fussy cutting. Make sure you have your pansies going up in the right direction. All right, so then we're back to fussy cutting again. So it's the same rule we had last time. Turn the paper, not your scissors. And this one isn't as detailed as the last one was, so it won't take very long. Love these little pansies. So cute. I've always been a pansy lover. They're such a happy little flower. Pansies and daisies are my favorite. Okay, once we have this cut out, we will put it on a dimensional and we'll put it on top of this tag. But let me show you how I did this ribbon. So I just kind of laid it across the tag. And then I looped it. I got to remember exactly how I did it because it was a little bit different. There we go. I made kind of like a fake bow with two ends sticking out. I didn't tie it. And then I again just used my little Scotch tape trick. Okay. And then your pansy goes on a couple dimensionals on top of that, covers up the tape, and peeks out over the ribbon. And then we're going to put our pastel pearl. I love these pearls, you guys. Right up here on the top. And then a couple more dimensionals and it gets adhered to the card base. Okay, this is a super simple card, but it is beautiful. It's my favorite. Leave me a note on Facebook and or on YouTube and tell me what your favorite is. Okay, so I want to show you a trick. So you look at this And you can see that it's not a very big punch. Actually, let me get a piece of paper and show you exactly how big it is. So you can see the difference. Okay, so if you just punch it out as designed, that's what you end up with. But here's a piece of just under 1 3/4 wide by 4 1/4. And what you do is you stick it into the punch. So instead of going in, we normally go in like this, we're going on the inside of the punch. We're going to push it down and then kind of center it up and punch it. So that's how I got that end. And then you do the same thing on the other side. And you just have to, this is a little tricky, you just have to find the spot where you punch. There's a little opening there. And sorry, I have to kind of hold it close to myself to find that. So you have to actually be looking at it pretty well. And I can't look at it and have it held away from me too far. I just can't see it. Okay, so you're going to slide it in. You can kind of see there. And there you go, Deb, making everyone think they're drunk again by hitting the camera. Sorry. Okay, so you slide it in like that, and then slide it up, and then center it up, and punch it. So basically, you can make the tag as long as you want. The trick is the width of it, and it's just under 1 3/4. So not 1 3/4, but just like a smidge under. You could also do this to both ends, or you could do that to both ends. So you may have seen some ideas online. We will be playing with this punch all year long, so I'll be showing you lots of different ideas for it over the course of the next catalog year. Okay, so you should have received an invitation via Evite for the June class. So it's a little bit different. I've never done anything like this before, and we'll see how it plays out. But you will pick if you would like to attend. It is going to be scheduled virtually, and we will see where we're at with the COVID-19 situation. If I can, I will try to do a stamp and go, but we're going to plan for virtual right now, and so that means that anybody can attend. And even if we do stamp and go, I'm going to keep going with the virtual because I do have some long distance customers now that have been attending, and I would like to keep having them being able to be involved. It's a nice option. It's really a great option if somebody's sick or out of town. So I've kind of learned in the last year that I can do this. Am I perfect? No. Are my videos as polished as others? No. But we're getting by and we're staying connected, and I think that's what the most important thing is. So I will continue with them as long as there is interest. I am hoping that by the little bit later into the summer that we can transition into some type of in-person events, but I also recognize that I will need to continue with the virtual, and that's okay. I'm going to make that work. So anyway, getting back to the June class, it will be I think the 24th and the 25th of June will be porch pickups. It's virtual. You'll get your video pushed out to you a day before you start picking up porch pickups. Mail out is available, and mail out will vary between an extra $5 to $8 depending on what you choose for your bundle. So if you choose one of the punch bundles, those weigh a lot, so they have to go in a priority mailer. So there'll be 8 something to ship out. And if you choose a die and stamp set, those are a little bit lighter, so I may be able to get away with maybe $5.50 on postage. I'll have to take a look at that. You will need to RSVP no later than June 12th. And I'm probably going to actually be placing the orders for your products fairly quickly when you register, because I am a little worried about inventory. If you're not aware of it, there are a lot of global shipping issues right now and just transportation issues in general. UPS has stopped their guarantee. FedEx has extended it. USPS is running slower. So I want to get things in here while they're available. So when I get you your total, I'll be confirming with you that that's okay to put it on your card or asking for a PayPal. And I'll work with anyone that needs me to on paying a little bit later, but I'm going to try to order things fairly quickly just to make sure they're still in stock. I checked this morning. There's only like 1 or 2 bundle items that aren't available. So we're doing really good right now. Hey, I want to tell you one little more thing about this little project. If you have that shimmery crystal effects, you can actually, and I'm looking for mine, I don't know what I've done with that too. You can actually add a little tiny bit to the center of the pansy. I don't know if you can see that, but it gives it a little dimension. All right, everyone, stay safe, be well. Thank you very much. Have a great day. If you have any questions or anything is missing from your kit, please reach out and let me know right away. Thanks again. Take care. Bye.